Hey everyone, welcome to episode 107 of BIM After Dark Live. I'm excited to be back. It's been, sorry if the audio is a little off there. It's been a few months, and I've got an exciting topic for you today. I'm sure you guys have all heard about ChatGPT by now. If not, make sure you Google it and get yourself educated. But for now, hopefully you guys have heard of ChatGPT, and my guest tonight is going to be talking not about ChatGPT itself, but also about making custom GPTs, which is a new feature that ChatGPT allowed, I believe, sometime last year, and then how he's connecting it with Revit and getting use out of this technology. And so we're going to start with some basics on that and then jump into actually Revit use cases. So I'm super excited to share that with you guys and introduce the guest very soon. Before we do jump into the topic, I wanted to remind everyone that we are here live tonight. So I will be checking the chat as we go through the conversation. So feel free to ask questions, comments, concerns, whatever you want to do in the chat. I will be monitoring it and feeding it into our conversation as we go along. So again, thank you guys for joining. Make sure if you enjoy this episode, check out the previous 106 episodes here on the YouTube channel, or head on over to live.bimafterdark.com to see them over on the website. And so with all of that being said, I think I'm just going to go right ahead and we're going to introduce our guest tonight. And so Dan Peterson, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks, Jeff, for having me. Really great to be here. Really appreciate the invite. I'm really excited to get into it tonight.
Of course. I appreciate you agreeing to be on the show. I know you've said that you've been watching the show for a while, and I know that you haven't necessarily published a whole bunch of face-forward content, and most of it's been the Revit Wizard face. So I appreciate you coming on and exposing yourself to the world for us and for our advantage.
Thanks. Yeah, it is cool to kind of finally take a step forward and really kind of reveal myself and not be such a lurker on the forums anymore. So I'm going to try to be a little bit better this year. You can find me on X or Twitter at the Revit Wizard. So
That's awesome.
Connect me on there.
Yeah, I think that's where I was introduced to some of your content. I think I stumbled across a couple posts and
Awesome.
sort of connected the dots with this custom GPT thing. I thought it would be a great concept for an episode. So I appreciate you again agreeing to come on. And so yeah, I think we'll just jump right into it. For those who don't know you, and maybe this is the start of maybe you publishing some content and letting everyone know who you are and what you're doing. But for those who don't know you, what do you do for a living? What's your background, education? I know you're in Atlanta, so it's nice East Coast 9 p.m. for you as well. But but how did you get to where you are today as far as the Revit Wizard and dealing with ChatGPT and Revit?
Yeah, so currently I work for the Beck Group, which is an integrated design build firm located in Atlanta, right in kind of the heart of Buckhead. And so for the Beck Group, I am a senior design technology coordinator. So I kind of am the BIM manager. I guess a lot of people call it BIM manager in other firms. So I deal with all the Revit questions. I help set up projects, deal with the BIM execution plans and all that fun stuff, the surprises that come up and handling the crap moments that always seem to arise on projects.
Of course. And so are you architecture from your background? Is that your education and what have you grown up?
Yeah, so I started out in architecture, eventually switched over to construction management. After college, I moved out to Denver and actually worked at an interior design firm that had architects and interior designers, and they were really interested in getting their interior designers into Revit. So I developed a template for them and trained about 50 different interior designers out there. Eventually moved back to Atlanta, worked at a couple other firms. The Beck Group is an architecture and construction firm. So architecture, I guess, is what I'm doing mostly right now, but I've done everything from mechanical, process engineering, really anything. I've kind of touched all of it, HVAC, structural, civil, so.
And through that process,
I've run the whole gamut.
Through that process, have you mainly been using Revit at the firms that you worked at?
Yeah, mostly Revit. In fact, that's usually why I got hired, was to kind of start Revit or teach Revit or in some kind of capacity like that.
Awesome. Cool. So then before we jump into the heart of the content and what ChatGPT and Custom GPTs are, what what got you into this path that we're going to talk about today, which is exploring AI language
Right.
models and what you're doing. I'm assuming there's also some computer language background to this, or coding maybe that you've taught yourself over
Yeah,
time,
I
or is
have
that
done a
part
little bit
of?
of coding.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
I think all of us have in BIM. Uh,
right.
just dabbled in it.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't say I'm like a pro in any coding language, but I can get through Dynamo and I can get through C.
Mhm.
But I would say that the way that I kind of got into it was, being the kind of the primary Revit um, question answerer for the Atlanta office. Towards the end of the year, I was 100% of my time on one particular project while still answering questions throughout the firm. So I was like, let me kind of see what I can come up with. I'd heard about the custom GPTs and I dabbled a little bit with AI last year as ChatGPT 4 came out.
Hmm.
And so I learned that, with the custom GPTs, you can do a little bit of prompt engineering to kind of help curb some of the hallucinations and things like that. So I was able to kind of create something that was usable for myself. And eventually it kind of rebranded, I guess, into what is now the Revit Wizard.
Awesome. So I think we're going to jump into the Revit Wizard in a second. This is a great segue. What I'm going to do
Awesome.
first is I'm going to quickly take a moment to recognize the BIM After Dark community who is supporting this episode with a little ad read from one of our members here, which is her name is Chris. So.
Hi, I'm Chris Broda, and I'm a member of the BIM After Dark community.
Oh, that's it. That's all we need.
That's
That's more than enough to sniff out.
So I knew early on that CAD was going to be the way to go.
Yep.
Then I did Revit, and I was, alone at sea in Revit world, as a single practitioner, and I became a big fan of your videos and it's so changed the way I even look at everything about how to practice. It made me want to join your community for sure.
Yep.
So I thought, this guy's great, I got to join.
Mhm.
And I was expecting to learn a lot about Revit,
Right.
sort of patch the holes of where I was.
Mhm.
But instead, I feel like I've learned about my career and I've learned about what it means to be an architect. And I have to say kudos to you and the community because it has made me a better architect. I have improved my practice. I've improved everything. And it's so funny because I'm ready to retire. So for the last couple of years, I didn't really want to be an architect anymore. But also just everything with your community has given me that spark back.
All right, thanks, Chris. So that was Chris. She's been a member of the community for 4 years now. If you're interested in joining the BIM After Dark community, head on over to community.bimafterdark.com. Come hang out with me and all the amazing members, and we'll level our Revit skills together. And as Chris said, improve our our careers in this wild world of BIM. So again, head on over to community.bimafterdark.com. Awesome. Thanks for waiting on the back end there, Dan.
Of course.
I have
Yeah.
to figure out a way to feed the music and videos to the guests so that you're not sitting there staring at me for 2 minutes while other things happen. But so we left off sort of introducing this concept, how you started using ChatGPT in version 4 or so, or maybe you saw with version 4 the release of these custom GPTs. So maybe before we move into that, maybe just give everyone a quick summary as architects and engineers and contractors of if maybe they didn't know what ChatGPT is, or how you would explain it to somebody before they jump in. How would you summarize ChatGPT as a
Yeah,
technology?
definitely. So it's a large language model, which everybody has kind of heard. And essentially what that does is it is using the English language to try to craft responses to the questions that you're asking it based off training data and the prompt and quite a few other things. So the GPT in ChatGPT actually stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So all that means is it's a generative answer, it's pre-trained, and it's the transformer part is talking about the programming language, but that's kind of like the nuts and bolts of that. But when you kind of get into what ChatGPT has become, it's kind of become like what we use as Google, right? So when you have a question or a problem or something like that that we've kind of previously gone to Google for, you can ask an AI like ChatGPT, and it's going to give you a much better answer that's a lot more relevant to what you're asking instead of just links that you could click on and then maybe peruse through and then get advertised to and things like that. So I think that's why the reason why it's kind of caught on so much is because everybody Googles things, and so this is a very easy transition, right? So if people were kind of used to Googling things before, you can chat GPT something, and it can give you links if you want links. If you just want a straight answer, it'll give you a straight answer. If you want recommendations on where you should go for more information, it'll even give you that. So, it is really cool technology. We're in ChatGPT 4 right now. But ChatGPT 5 is expected to come out later this year. That was kind of like a tidbit that was teased in the news not too long ago. And ChatGPT 5 should introduce quite a bit more, possibly even some user interface changes. So right now, it kind of looks a little bit more like the original computers, like a terminal station where it just looks like text. In the future, it could look a little bit more like an old school Facebook app, if you remember those that have kind of some basic UI where you could put some buttons that you can press and things like that. So I think we're going to see it evolve and change over the years, but I think it is probably the best model out of Claude, Copilot, and kind of some of the other ones that are similar.
Yeah. So I'm assuming a lot of people out there, like myself, the second ChatGPT started hitting the mainstream and everyone started diving in and trying it out, first thing we did was try out things like asking it questions about Revit, for sure, right? I know I did all kinds of stuff, like obviously asking about Python and Dynamo is one area, but then even just simple Revit things, I was curious, like how do you build a stair in Revit, just to see what it spit out, and sort of, so I think anyone who hasn't done that, I think you should just dive in and just try out stuff and see what the responses are. But as far as this idea of custom GPTs, which I believe was a 4.0 thing, right? I think it was. It's only about a year old now. This idea of custom GPTs.
November is when it came out, so not
even a year. So when I saw that, I was very interested in what this would become, but I also don't know enough about the back end or how this works to really understand how it actually would impact myself and people in this audience. So that's kind of part of the reason why I really wanted you to come on, is I don't actually understand custom GPTs, so I would love for you to help me understand, which would hopefully help our audience understand, and then maybe start spinning the wheels on what this could mean for us as well.
Yeah. So Custom GPT is kind of like an app in the App Store. That's kind of how OpenAI wants people to think of it. So it is a flavored version of an AI. So you have the base model, which is ChatGPT 4, and you've given it custom instructions, sometimes actions. You can sometimes even connect the API to another website. So some other custom GPTs out there will actually export your prompt to another website. It's going to generate something from another website and pull something back. So there actually is a lot of things that you can do with that, right? So with things like Zapier and others, you can even start to do some agent building where if somebody emails you, it automatically generates an email or a response based on like a ChatGPT, and it knows to respond in the manner that you kind of talk. So somebody might get a response email back that is not from you, but it sounds like it's from you. And that's all done through AI. So that's connecting APIs through the custom GPTs It's not super easy, so you do have to know a little bit of coding. Some of it is no code. T is a little bit later. So in the custom instructions, I have it looking specifically at code sections that I know are a problem for my team. And so I have it pointing there so that when I have questions from my team about code, I can just ask it there, and it's going to reference the sections of the code for that.
So when it comes to talking to APIs, right now is it still built within browsing, like whatever APIs exist within?
Right.
So you're not
the
talking
Revit
external beyond the browser, the internet, whatever those connections are, right?
Revit Wizard is not connected to the Revit API, unfortunately. So I know that's something that I'd like to do in the future. I kind of have a roadmap, and that is on the roadmap. So don't worry there. But I'm just one person. So.
Got it. So then I guess maybe we should jump into Revit Wizard just to show, and then maybe I don't know if it's possible to sort of talk a little bit about the building of a custom GPT, and just so that people can see kind of, and myself too, can sort of see. I kind of see what you're saying, but I think visually seeing what the process is would be really cool. So they're actually seeing your screen now, so feel free to sort of explain a little bit of what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so this is kind of the chat window. So it looks pretty similar to kind of like a text window or a chat window in Teams or something like that. So this is just kind of like a little intro. This will go away after I ask the first question. These are some example questions that I could ask if I kind of didn't really know what to ask. Here, this gives me the ability to kind of attach things if I have attachments that I want to give it, and things like that, which is kind of like a neat feature that a lot of the other AIs do not have right now. So I say that's a standout feature right now, is that you can actually put things in here like images, and it's going to recognize what they are. It'll also recognize PDFs and other types of files as well. But you also have this Explore GPTs window. So this is kind of the store, if you will. So it'll have some featured GPTs, DALL-E. So if you know anything about the images that kind of have been created by AI, this is what that is. So if we wanted to, and we are going to create some images later. I think I have some fun stuff in my notes.
Nice.
So we'll kind of demo that a little bit later. But this tool also can generate images. Let's see. There's quite a few different categories. Education is where Revit Wizard is. If you guys start using it, it might end up here on the list. I'm just kidding.
Is this Custom GPT? Are they moderating this at all, or how are they moderating it?
Yep. So this is updating every week based on user count, or actually users in the week. So if a bunch of people start using a custom GPT, it jumps up quite a bit, and if people haven't used it in a while, then it'll fall off the list. So you can kind of see some of these really popular ones kind of on this main page. So if you were to search Revit, it should be the first one that comes up. So you can see there's quite a few others. This one is not Revit, but it's Reddit.
Close.
So right now, Revit Wizard is the #1 Revit-related custom GPT. Definitely was not my intention when I first created it, but I don't mind the attention, and I really appreciate that people are liking it and using it.
That's awesome.
So you can rate it, I think, after you answer a few questions or ask it a few questions. It'll give you an opportunity to rate it and give me some feedback. So I would say since this is a very new tool, if you do have some Revit knowledge and you have some decent feedback, please feel free to give me feedback. I actually do get that in my email. So,
so let's talk about then the creation of this. So there was a question already in the chat about how do you go about trusting the information? I think this is generally at ChatGPT, but obviously it can go towards a custom GPT, because I'm assuming you're still pulling from the similar learning model even when you're doing a custom GPT, right? So maybe we'll let's hit that question first, and the general form of it, and then maybe we talk about how to create a custom GPT, and then we can figure out what that actually means. So maybe your thoughts on that concept of trusting the information or what results you're getting
Right.
from ChatGPT.
So kind of like I said before, the hallucinations I think is something that everybody that's used this has encountered.
Can you
where ask it,
define what you mean by
yeah,
hallucination for
a
people?
hallucination is you ask it a question and the answer it gives you is very confident but not right at all. So
Yes.
and another example of a hallucination that I'm seeing a lot more often on Revit Wizard because it is a custom GPT and I'm trying to curb hallucinations. I'll see repeat steps. So like step 3 will be the same as step 4. It's just written a different way. So there's no way to permanently get rid of hallucinations with AI. It is trying to generate an answer for you. So I think with that randomness element, naturally there's going to be some mistakes. So what you can do with ChatGPT or with custom GPTs is essentially carve out what you don't want. So what I was noticing with Revit Wizard is I would ask it, intentionally, I would ask it questions like, how do you save a Revit project or a Revit 2023 project in Revit 2022, knowing that you can't do that. And it would give me steps on how to do that in SketchUp, but say that it's Revit. So I noticed that. I was like, that's really peculiar that it's giving me the SketchUp steps, but just calling SketchUp Revit. What if I put, in my prompt, I don't want you to think about anything related to SketchUp. And that actually seemed to help when I asked the same question. So I kind of took that same, or that little learning moment and turned it into a lot of the programming that became Revit Wizard.
And I'll add a little commentary to that too. And this I think goes back. I think Yogi asked the question. You really need to spend time in ChatGPT prompting and reading the answers, reading them full, and then continuing the conversation. So like what I've learned over time is if you get a result that seems wrong or off, if you respond saying, blah, blah, and you tell the language model, no, this is wrong or that's that, and then you sort of start chopping down, you're actually narrowing down that chat at least with it. And so 100% never just copy and paste from ChatGPT. Read what you're getting. But I love that idea. So is that generally what a custom GPT is? Is it carving away some of the junk from the data set, so to speak?
Right. Yeah. You're kind of shaping the training so that you're taking everything and then saying, ignore this, only focus on this.
Are you introducing new data sets too, or no?
Yep, definitely. So there,
Awesome.
and I'll kind of
let's jump in maybe real quick. Let's go through what's the process look like for someone if they said, I want to create a custom GPT right now.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll come down here. Sorry, I've got our faces in the way.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of people are interested with the addition of data sets too. So I think going through this process will be super valuable.
Yep. So this is the builder window, and my face is in the way. So let me move it over here.
Don't worry, we didn't see it. Only you saw it.
Awesome. All right, so I have not named this GPT yet. So does the chat have any ideas for the name?
Let's see.
What do we want to create?
We'll let everyone give it some names in the chat and we'll go from there. It might take a few seconds because they're delayed. So
all good. But quickly then
move through to the next steps. Yeah.
I'll just kind of talk about. So you name it, you give it a description, and then these are the custom instructions, and then also the conversation starters that you kind of saw as those little bubbles that showed up at the beginning, and then you also have your knowledge files that you can upload. I kind of recommend PDFs for people that are kind of new to this. It's pretty easy to kind of convert.
Does it do a pretty good job reading PDFs?
Definitely.
Like if there's text and images though, is there an issue if it's a very graphic heavy PDF, or it does a pretty good job still recognizing?
The graphics are no problem. In fact, I don't think graphics have really messed up my experience at all. In fact, I would probably find it annoying to try to just copy all the text.
Yeah. Well, I was just curious because I know when I think of PDFs and especially if it's like a scanned PDF or something with OCR and stuff, that kind of stuff I'm kind of thinking of, right?
Now, if there's maybe weird colors and formatting, maybe. But
so someone said bad GPT. I like that one.
Bad GPT.
Bad
okay.
GPT.
What do we want this one to do? This sounds
I don't
dangerous. All right. So, kind of what I imagine people in our field would use this for is probably for answering Revit specific questions. But then every single firm is going to have pretty specific drawing standards that are going to be only specific to their firm, right? And so if you actually have those drawing standards, I would recommend maybe exporting them into a PDF that you can use as a knowledge file to teach it. You know, these are my drawing standards. This is naming conventions and things like that.
On that note, can you make your custom GPTs private versus public?
Yep.
So if you're uploading this data, it's not feeding into the big machine?
Yep. So it can be only for the individual user. There's also team accounts. So if you know there's 5 of you BIM people in the office, you know you can have a team account and all 5 of you would be able to access it, but no one else.
Yep.
And then you can also access it with just the link. So I can give the link out to people and then they would have access to it.
Got it.
Or you can make it public, which is just published to the store.
Got it. Cool.
So then let's give this I guess we could, bad puns maybe? I don't know. Okay.
I think they're saying bad for BIM After Dark, BAD.
Oh, okay. I love it. All right.
There we go. Good enough.
All right. Cool. So this will be,
as you're typing that, there was a question, which I think the answer is you can only make a custom GPT if you're a paid user of ChatGPT, right?
Yep. So it's GPT Plus is the kind of name of the subscription. I think $20 a month is the cheapest that you can get. Maybe they do sometimes deals where you might be able to get it less than that.
And I think you get, I mean, what do you so I do have a GPT Plus subscription. I believe some of the benefits are not just the custom GPTs, but I believe it's faster responses, I think, right?
Yeah, faster responses.
And you get more of the custom stuff like uploading files, using Dolly, that kind of stuff,
code
right?
interpreter,
yeah.
things like that, yeah.
Yeah, the analysis, the file analysis
awesome.
And stuff is really neat, like uploading Excel files and having it make graphs and stuff. It's pretty wild, and analyzing data in it.
Browsing the web too, which is kind of like a huge,
great point.
Huge thing. Yep.
Yes, so the normal, for those that don't know, the normal of the free ChatGPT, and I think even before 3.5 or whatever, before 4, I think it didn't have it built in. I don't remember, but it was only using the data set there, which was September 2022 or something, and it had no way to basically search the web for new data, so to speak.
Exactly.
So now you actually can say browse the web, or there's different prompts you can use to search the web beyond the model, right? That's already there.
In just a little bit, I'll when we get out of here and get back into Revit Wizard, I'm gonna show you guys a cool prompt that you can ask Revit Wizard and ChatGPT to kind of get it to show you the differences.
Nice.
Okay,
so let's finish making our custom GPT, just so people get the idea here. So for those that can't read it, I'm going to read it out loud for them. If user gives the name of a person or AEC tool, act as a guest for the user. Do not break character.
All right, so this is a really simple one. So it's just an if-then statement. You can use programming logic really easily in this. So this is no code, like I said, so you can literally just
so it's using the language to say, okay, they want to do an if-then statement. Neat.
So this should kind of give us a very simple function, and then we'll just say, who's your last guest? Actually, I just talked to him yet, or what's Miguel's last name?
Oh my God, you're gonna get me on the spot here. I think the very last guest, though, I believe, was Scott Davis from Autodesk when we were talking about
Here,
collaboration in the
I'll
cloud.
do Miguel from
But yeah, I
Evolve
believe it was,
Labs.
I can't remember his last name. I'm sorry, Miguel. But yes, it was Miguel from Evolve Labs. We were talking about Glyph was one, definitely, he was definitely on the
Yeah.
season last season for sure.
I was on a call with him yesterday to talk about
That's
glyphs.
awesome. That's awesome.
All right, so I don't have any knowledge files or anything like
Yeah.
that. I can turn off, maybe keep web browsing on in
Mm.
case, this person was to give a guess that I didn't know or that I didn't know. We can either upload a photo or use DALL-E to create the photo of this.
Nice.
Let's see what that comes up with, and then we'll hit create. But right here, I guess in this little, this other window, so this is the builder window. So right now it's generating the profile picture. This is kind of that profile picture that it generated. And I can start asking it questions now. So
So for those who can't read it, Miguel from Evolve Labs to talk about Glyph. There you go. Yeah.
text size. Got a big screen, sorry.
Yeah.
All right,
Nice.
so I guess it's acting as
me.
as you. Yep. So I would want to retrain it and say, hey, you've messed this up. So
So it says, hey, when I said Miguel from Evolve Labs, you acted as the podcast host.
So hopefully this kind of demonstrates kind of that
Got it.
collaborative process, right? So I've tested this out. I didn't like what I got, so I then told it what's
Got
up.
it.
So now I could retry it and then based on the response.
So then
continue
once
building.
you create this, then would you go back and keep doing this to refine it, or then you can do it within the custom GPT itself?
Yeah, you can do it within the custom GPT itself, or you could open up a separate window. The important thing is it's not going to save the changes that you make in this configure window until I actually
Got it.
do this. So now all this stuff is saved. And this link just works for me. And now this is... Again, yep. So I'd have to train it. But that's kind of the gist.
That's really cool. So in this,
creating a custom GPT. Yep.
so in this, when it comes to carving out data, so if let's say we go back to the example you gave of office standards or training manuals or something, right? Specs,
Right.
I don't know, whatever you want to talk. Can you create the custom GPT and say to only pull from what you've uploaded, what data sets you've uploaded?
Yep,
Is that so?
definitely.
So in theory, you could use this model to only use the data sets that you're pumping up.
Correct.
So if you threw a bunch of PDFs or something, it
Yep.
wouldn't go. So then by doing that, you're creating more predictable results, right? It's kind of,
Exactly.
but you're utilizing the technology of this language
Right.
model. Neat, very cool. That's really cool.
All right. So let's jump back over to Revit Wizard and then let's show you guys. So
I'm actually going to move your head on my end too.
no, you're fine.
There we go. So it says create a flow chart using Python that illustrates how Revit Wizard works to help solve problems in Revit, including a route for when you are unable to help them. Got it.
All right, so let's see what this says. I'm going to put this same prompt into ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
but this should hopefully illustrate
Yeah,
for
one of the
itself.
chat guys said it's like Control F with a brain, and to some extent, that's not a terrible. I mean, when you when you think about
Literally,
a
yeah.
single set of data, right? It's that's exactly what it right.
I think one of the cool things that one of the AI engineers that I've kind of been listening to has said was when they were working on this, they've mapped it and they kind of tried to remodel how the brain functions, and that's really what led to a lot of the breakthroughs and some of this LLM predictive text stuff. So it's pretty interesting. All right, so this is almost done. Oh no, we've got an error. It's gonna go ahead and do it a second time. This is what I was afraid of, doing it live.
You should have had it queued up on another
I
tab.
know.
Come on, man. I'm just checking to see if there's any questions while it's spinning. Yeah, they're just private. Obviously, people were asking about private, which I asked that question. Makes sense.
Yeah. So one note about the private thing is if you guys get a enterprise license, the enterprise license works a little bit different in that all of the information that gets inputted to the GPT that's in your enterprise account or custom GPTs that are in that enterprise account. There's no way, I think, even for OpenAI, the people that work there to kind of get that information. So it's there's a little bit more information on their website if you wanted to look into it, but they do advertise that as the absolute most secure way that you can kind of do things for those companies that are a little bit more data sensitive. So I'm gonna have to see if just get regular ChatGPT to do this for us first.
Maybe because flow chat, maybe the spelling error. Do you think that would have done it?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even see
I
that.
just noticed that too. It says flow chat instead of flow chart. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe you freaked it out with your language. It's trying
I'm
to
using a new
trying
keyboard tonight.
it's trying to
so
decide what a flow chat is. It's searching all its information to see what that is.
yeah, this is not my normal keyboard, so let's see.
Oh, that one's still flow chat. The chat GPT one.
We'll see if it can get this one.
Figure it out.
So one thing to note, technically on GPT-4, you get 40 or 50 messages every 3 hours. So it refreshes pretty constantly, but that way, nobody's abusing it and things like that. Okay, awesome. This normally it did not give me a download link, but
Yeah, that's interesting. It didn't just show the image. Look at that.
all right. So let's get this back. So user asks a question about Revit. ChatGPT analyzes the question. Is the question about a known issue or feature? Yes. Provide guidance. And then end. If the answer to that was no, though, so can ChatGPT offer troubleshooting or steps? Yes, then offer those troubleshooting steps. No, then advise the user to consult Revit documentation on forums, and then so on. So pretty cool that I can actually do this.
Yeah.
This is just regular ChatGPT. So the difference that I was hopefully trying to show us, let's see if we can get the differences kind of shown visually.
Yeah, I've never seen it do that with a linked image. That was kind of cool. Or a downloadable linked image.
Normally it just gives you the image. I don't know if
Right.
it's high usage right now or what. That is something that I've noticed is it will kind of act differently. It'll act a little bit lazy, if you will, when there's a lot of people using ChatGPT. So we'll see.
Let's see, is it going to do a link? No.
Let's see. weird is I saw the coding that it was trying to do for it. I might have to actually. So this is actually great. I'm actually kind of happy that this came up, because this is something that employees where I work have encountered. When you kind of make a mistake and then you kind of keep going, like a spelling mistake, and then you retry it. They can sometimes just get confused. It's sometimes a little bit easier just to refresh the memory, or to open a new chat window and kind of clear the cache.
It's kind of like Dynamo,
Revit.
right? When you run a script
Right.
too many times, sometimes you have to
Literally,
close
yeah.
Dynamo and reopen it, right?
It's exactly like that. So let's see now if it can do it. And I'm gonna bet that it can do it now, just in case though.
So while that's happening, I have a question for you, since you're clearly somebody who lives in ChatGPT often. Managing chat history. So like there's.
Gosh, and of course it's gonna make me look foolish on this podcast. All right, let's see. And I'll get I'm gonna get the corrected flow chart over to everybody, but we'll kind of move on past this question.
All good.
But
it was pretty neat that it made the flow chart there.
Exactly, yeah. And I promise Revit Wizard can do that too. I don't know why it's acting up. You can archive chats, and then obviously you can delete chats,
right.
If chats are kind of one-off questions or irrelevant. That way you kind of have your more prominent ones in your history. And I kind of do go through and delete chats that I don't really need anymore and things like that, just so I can find some of the other stuff. But there probably isn't a great way to do it right now. Eventually, I do believe that they're going to come out with some user interface options that are going to
even like a folder or container structure or something, like a hierarchy would be really nice.
Or you'll be able to search the chats or something like that.
Yeah, I think actually what I ended up doing was using ChatGPT to find a tool that bulk deleted it for me or something like that.
Awesome. Yeah.
Whatever. So let's go back to Revit Wizard, and let's think of, how is it being used within interacting with Revit? I know it doesn't interact with Revit, but if you're a Revit user, how are you using this custom GPT you made?
So the idea is that it's mainly for beginners to Revit, so architecture students, individuals that are trying to land a career, using Revit. A lot of colleges these days, it seems like they don't teach Revit anymore. It's kind of mostly Grasshopper and Rhino. And
I don't think they ever did,
SketchUp.
To be honest with you.
I know that's true.
I don't think they ever did.
My college was lucky, or we were lucky enough in my school to learn Revit, but I do know that most of them don't. And so it makes it really difficult when a lot of the kind of criteria for hiring these days is some knowledge of Revit. So it makes it really challenging. And I have a lot of friends that have reached out to me and have asked for assistance learning Revit so that they can kind of land jobs and just getting the basics down. It's expensive to use it. So one of my favorite things to do, and I've kind of practiced this one, so I know this one will work. So, so I want to learn Revit.
So it says, I want to learn Revit. I will get the 30-day trial and need you to help creating a lesson plan so that I can learn everything required for an entry-level architect job. Love it.
All right, so it's going to give you some intro stuff and then kind of get into the editing and drawing stuff, architectural elements, and then eventually modeling, going through the different tools, and then creating the documentation, title blocks, setting up sheets, annotations. Yeah, so I mean, this is a great way. And then if you wanted to go a little bit further, kind of like how you said, this is the kind of the cool thing. It's kind of like a conversation. It's not just a one-off answer. So
Create a table so that I know what to cover each day of the 30 days. And so while this is typing, what data have you fed Revit Wizard specifically?
So for this particular area of I guess expertise, I've looked at Revit classes that are offered online and kind of carved through there, gone over kind of some of the things that should be in there, asked questions, things that it left out. I would remind it, don't forget about this. Like curtain walls was literally one of the things. Curtain walls always comes up because it's way different than walls.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you
Nice.
like this table, you can kind of like the where it had you download the image, you can download it as an Excel file. So I could say,
Add the estimated amount of time I should spend on each topic each day. An expert as an Excel file. Nice. So how this went while this is creating Excel file, how are people using it? Like how now that it's in the public and you're also, I'm assuming within Beck you've got people using it probably, right?
Right.
As how have you seen people actually using Revit Wizard?
The most common kind of way that people use it, and we'll touch on this next, is screenshots. So something will go wrong in Revit, an error message, or they get a red line that they're like, I don't know what this means, or I don't know how to do this. And the cool thing about being able to give it images is it's going to be able to understand that image. I've given it pictures of the entire Revit UIs and kind of told it what different things are.
Yeah.
I've exported images of the ribbons and kind of covered some of the buttons, and it knows what the tabs are and things like that. So this here would be the download file. And now we've got a download in Excel of Revit, or of this little lesson plan. One of the cool things that I've added here, so this is part of that custom instructions that I've kind of programmed in, is these related questions. So anytime it can give you some related content, it's going to give you these related questions down here at the bottom. So I know that what we're doing right now isn't super it won't lead you down a rabbit hole. But sometimes, you ask a question and then you do start to get down a rabbit hole about curtain walls, for instance, or different things like that, or modeling, and setting up parameters. And you can start to just ask question after question. And question A, this first one that comes up, is it's actually trying to think about what you should ask next. And B and C is just related questions. But these are definitely something to kind of look at if you are using Revit Wizard, because the related questions actually could kind of lead you down a really helpful rabbit hole.
Nice.
Let's see. So
I'm curious now. I really want to hear about this screenshotting and how people use that.
So we'll just load in a couple screenshots. What is this one? So I guess I should give it. Let's put this in and go.
So they're uploading a screenshot and then asking a question from the screenshot. Is that basically what?
Yeah. So
Nice.
this is one that I actually had last week.
Okay. How do I create a new viewport type? Oh, nice.
So it's going to walk through the steps. For some reason, the 1, 2, 3, 4, those are supposed to be emojis, but I think in Edge they don't show up.
Nice.
So it'll give you the basic instructions. Let's try another one. Let's see, what's this one? So this is actually more of a red line.
Okay.
This is actually the one that I meant to say help. So it actually read what the red line was, and it's able to kind of identify like what's going on in this picture.
That's pretty neat. So it's telling. So for those who can't read it fully, I know it's going pretty fast. It took the red line and it's basically giving you steps to potentially solve that issue,
Right, yeah.
or help you like investigate it. So it's looking at what is it? It's the hatch. The hatch on the door is what the red line has to do with. Right.
Yeah,
And so it's saying here's some ways that you could potentially see what that hatch is. Is it in the family?
Exactly.
Is it an annotation object? Is it a detail item in the project? Like, it's actually going through quite a few steps there.
So we've got one more here. This is a screenshot from a 3D, like an Enscape rendering.
Okay.
So how would I end?
How would I add glass above the door in this curtain wall? Oh, neat. So it's a 3D, it's a perspective image from Enscape highlighting the door and then adding. And so I assume you're also, as people are asking questions and you're seeing the results, are you retraining if something's wrong type of thing? Is that sort of the process of continuously building this thing?
Yep. So as you guys kind of go through here, and if you come across responses that are bad, please feel free to correct it and continue talking to it so that you get the correct answer. But you will be able to see a little thumbs up and thumbs down. So since I'm the creator of this GPT, I can't thumbs up it, but I can
You can thumbs down it.
certain bad responses. Yeah, that
And I would
kind of flag.
I would also assume too if users are responding the next chat level and saying no, I think this, in sort of like reprompting, that's also being fed into the model too.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously there's the regenerate button. There's copy if you wanted to copy, the steps. If it is a good prompt, you can copy this, paste it into Teams, and answer whoever's question that you need to answer. There's also this read aloud that actually just came out. That will, if you're kind of not you don't like reading, you want to kind of leave it in the background, you can have it read its response to you while you continue working. I've done this quite a few times.
I was going to say that is one thing with ChatGPT, when you start digging in, the amount of typing and reading that you have to do is definitely can be a turnoff for some people for sure.
And I will say it's, I guess I can start it for a second and then turn it off. I don't know if
I'll be able to hear it.
Do you hear it?
No, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think you're sharing desktop audio. I actually might be able to do it on my end. I might be able to read something. So while you're talking, I'll open ChatGPT and see if there's a.
But the speech function is oddly, it's too similar to human speech. Like the breath, the way that it speaks, ending sentences. Like it's way better than.
Well, let's see. So I don't know if you're going to hear this now. So I just asked ChatGPT.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Who is the host of the Revit Kit, and it said this.
The host of the Revit Kit is Jeff Pinheiro 3 Source. The host of the Rev.
That's really cool. I think everyone heard that. I'm surprised at how fast the dialect
Yeah.
was and whatnot. Really cool.
So that's also a great learning tool. You know, if this is for somebody who's learning Revit, they can kind of keep that speaking to them in the background while they follow the steps. And obviously, they can play and replay the steps.
Love it.
There's also one thing that we can kind of talk about is
Sure.
if you don't understand what this step is saying, you could say this.
Oh, that's neat. So you highlighted a section of the response. There's a little quote thing, and then you can reply, and you can just say, "I don't understand this piece." That's really cool.
So it's referencing that little section. Yep. We'll let that run. So that's another newer feature. It actually looks like it isn't. Normally this stays here. That's weird that it's not doing that right now.
Yeah, it's not showing the reply, but
yeah, it was yesterday, so I don't know what's going on. They're testing things right now or something.
while you're on a live stream, they're beta testing functions.
Yeah. I will say the way that ChatGPT kind of works, just so that everybody kind of knows the back end, it has a system prompt, and this system prompt actually gets updated sometimes once a week, sometimes it's a little bit later than that. But this system prompt actually gives it limitations, and it's OpenAI's way of kind of quickly keeping a handle on things or a hold on things as new models and updates kind of come out. So I was able at one point, and you can't do it anymore. I was able to get ChatGPT to give me its system prompt. And something that I noticed, because I was able to do it on both PC and on mobile, because I don't know if you know chat, but OpenAI has a ChatGPT app, and so Revit Wizard is on iPhone as well. The system prompt for iOS versus PC is vastly different.
Oh, really?
So if you were to ask questions on your phone versus on a PC, the answers that it gives you are actually going to be quite different.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's something to kind of keep in mind. Yeah.
That's awesome. Is there any examples you want to show? We have a couple minutes here that you definitely wanted to show about how Revit Wizard is being used and some ideas of how it can be used.
Yeah. So kind of the last thing that I wanted to kind of showcase was another way that we can kind of use these custom GPTs. So this is an architecture client simulator. So this kind of acts as a client. This is kind of what made me think about the BIM After Dark podcast guest simulator. So this acts as a client, and you can kind of pick any type you want. So let's say client.
Is this client randomized difficulty 8 out of 10? An 8 out of 10 difficult client. I like that. While that's typing, so as far as the results between iOS and PC, were you still happy with the results, or do you think one was actually better than the other?
No, I'm definitely happier with the PC results. So the very first sentence of the iOS prompt is to limit the characters to a certain number.
That's annoying. Because of the phone, because of the mobile, maybe.
Right.
Interesting.
I guess so. Yeah. But that was really frustrating to read that and be like, why are you limiting it?
Yeah. Oh, I love this. So it's generating basically a letter from
like
a client,
email.
an email, saying what the project is, with some basic program elements and some sizing, and then is it sending inspiration photos too? Is that what's happening?
It is. Yeah.
That's
So
really
this
cool.
is the lot. So obviously this is a crazy lot, but you could kind of use this to go into Revit and create this project that it's kind of asking you to create. And you can create a image, a rendering, just a screenshot from Revit is fine as well, and then give it to the client, and it actually will grade you out of 100 points or how accurate you kind of got to the different things that it was asking you to do.
That's
And it
really
actually
cool.
even gives you advice on kind of how you could approach things differently and things like that. So
That's
this is
really
probably
neat.
one of my favorite things. This will be one of the next tools that I publish and make go live. So I'll publish the link on my Twitter in a week or two when this is ready for the public.
That's really cool.
This is a really cool tool.
Yeah, no, that's a really neat idea, especially I'm sure for teachers too, right? I mean, if you're
Definitely,
if
yeah.
you're teaching a studio or an architecture program, making up the projects
Right.
is can be a challenge, right? But having this sort of create, technically you could have parameters around a project, but have each student even have a different client with the same
Exactly.
parameters, right? That's really
Yep.
neat. That's a really cool idea. I love that.
Another thing is, like over the holidays, this is actually when I kind of thought about this. That we had a few people who didn't have anything to do, who they're newer in Revit.
Yeah. Super cool. Awesome.
Were there any other
No, I
questions
fed
that
quite a
people?
few of the questions in there, and I know,
Awesome.
yeah, sorry guys, I know it was buffering for a second. OBS was doing something weird, so I think they got everything. I think it was a pretty quick disconnection, but
Okay, cool.
I guess the only question that we didn't really hit on was um, Ernesto asked, which I think is also, yeah, kind of, so like as far as if the idea was to implement something like this at a firm, and so I think I think that concept of creating a just firm documentation portal and having this thing is a really cool idea. But I guess
Right.
maybe to expand on his question a little bit is like, if this rolled out to a firm, how much effort is it to maintain and create and continuously maintain, sort of for you, and then just
Well,
thinking about how that expands to a
right.
firm.
Yeah. I mean, once it's built, once you train it initially, and have it working the way that you want it, um, you're pretty much good. The maintenance and the upkeep on Revit Wizard has been pretty minimal. As people ask me really good questions, I
Mm.
write them down and then come home and feed it to Revit Wizard
Hmm.
and train it and things like that. But it only really took maybe 30 days to kind of get it from starting the custom GPT and naming it
Hmm.
to something where I'm actually really satisfied with the results that I'm getting out of it.
Awesome. No, that's really cool. I think just by showing us this, I think I'm hoping that it gave everyone some potential. I'm already spinning my mind of different ways that I could use
Yeah.
this, whether it's with internal documentation or whether it's with Revit Wizard or whether it's
Right.
with other concepts. So I really do appreciate that. Is there, before we wrap up, I think you said on Twitter, I'll put your link in your handle on Twitter.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere else that or any final words or anywhere else you'd like people to be able to reach out to you, connect?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I am just one person working on a tool right now. Eventually, I do want to kind of spin off and break off and develop a little bit more. I have some really great ideas in the pipe. Custom family maker, automated quality checks, predictive maintenance modeling, automated documentation, things like that that I'm really excited about. And I think that AI really has some great uses for AEC, and
Hmm.
I'm really excited about where it's going to go. And as new models kind of release, playing with them and seeing what we can do.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Dan, and thank you so much for coming on to the show. I will again put links to Dan's Twitter profile below. Head on over to ChatGPT and search for Revit Wizard and try it out and give it a thumbs up and a review for sure. And all of you guys that are here with us live tonight, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. We got a bunch of really good guests this season, so I'm excited to start it off. I hope this was a good kickoff point for you guys. It was for me. Again, if you're interested in joining the BIM After Dark community, head on over to community.bimafterdark.com. And otherwise, have an awesome weekend, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Dan, thanks again, and we'll see you later, man.
Thanks. See ya.